Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to drive all the way to Worcester for our meeting. So to get started, we would like to touch base on the approval of the 2013 Annual General Meeting minutes. Does anyone have any questions or feedback in regards to the minutes from the AGM from last year? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the 2013 AGM minutes? All right. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Oh, I need someone to, I need someone to second it. Those in favor to, please raise your hand. Those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, motion is approved, unopposed. We'll go ahead and post this meeting minutes in our website. And with that, I would like to pass it on the podium to Neil Foley, our president, for the welcome address.
Yeah. I don't think I need that. You guys can all hear me, right? If you're just coming in late, could you at some point try to make your way over to either Carl or Shannon so we make sure your team is recorded as being here? Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Neil Foley, and I am your president. Thank you all for coming. As I did last year, I'd like to start this year by saying this union doesn't exist without you people in the room. Your clubs don't say it enough, so I'm going to say it for them. Thank you for what you do for your clubs, and thank you for being here today. On a more somber note, we've had South Shore Anchors has lost 2 players in the last few months. Their names are Dan Breen and Kyle Dandro. If we could, I'd like to take a moment of silence in their memory now. Thank you. So welcome. It's been a heck of a year with realignment, a new website, a club administrator, a new competitive region committee, and the Olympic Development Academy. I think our board has been very hard-pressed, very taxed, and working on your behalf. Hopefully you've enjoyed the results. You'll continue to see them in the next year, hopefully. This is going to be a different meeting than we've had in the past. We've got actually 3 people that want to talk to us about rugby health here today. If you saw on the agenda, there's a new study being done at Boston University Department of Radiology in conjunction with Philips Imaging. Those people are here to present what their study is going to be, and I'll introduce them in a bit. There's also Dr. Vic Lopez, who, working with Empire and ourselves, has started a rugby injury prevention group and analysis. And there's a third person here by the name of Laura Carney. You guys probably all have these on your table. Laura, where are you? There's Laura over there, guys. She's doing her doctorate's thesis, and she wants to study rugby injury and prevention. So Laura's going to be out in the hallway after the meeting if you just want to introduce yourself or if you're more interested in getting any more information. In addition, the other people that are going to be talking to us today are also going to be soliciting feedback, and hopefully, you guys can talk to them and get a little bit more information about what they're doing and why they're doing it. We have in the upcoming elections or bylaw changes, we have a new Sevens director position, a new executive director of colleges position, and there's going to be more changes and more conversations that we need to do over the course of the meeting. If at the end of the meeting, we're going to split up again, I'm going to ask the senior clubs to stay in here, men and women, and the college clubs to go to one of the other ballrooms, and we can have breakout sessions there. Conference room E for the college clubs. Okay? So with that being said, thank you all for coming. Welcome to Worcester. And now we're going to have the treasurer's report from Shannon Wallace.
Hi. So just before we kick this off with the actual numbers, I just want to put it out there that we have been spending a lot of the year trying to get more transparency, which means I know it's kind of a pain sometimes when you're asking for money and you just want to throw out an email that says, give me $500 because I am doing something for some sort of playoff. We're really looking to make sure that everything's in line and that there's paper trails and that even if it's an emailed invoice and things like that, so that we can have transparency, because it is your money and that we're deciding how to spend some of it, but it really is something that we feel more responsible for, and making sure that everybody can track it back. So just bear with us when we ask for things like that, and make sure that you ask us for money and give us enough information. And along those lines, our starting balances, you should have just a basic cash flow statement on the table. But we started with almost 126,000. We had almost 91,000 in income, expenses of 64,000, which actually gave us another net income this year, which means we have an ending balances in our accounts of 153,000. So most of that is from dues. Some of the profits is actually was from team registration for NERFU, but we do run at a deficit for NERFU, just so people know. That tournament is paid for by us, but as part of the deal for being a part of that tournament, you do, everyone knows, you pay your team registration, and then we pay the deficit as a board and as a union. So the expenses that we had was the NERFU tourney. We've actually been putting a lot of money towards All-Star Sevens this year without, the 15s select sides system the way it used to be. There are 7 select sides that are stepping up and going to some tournaments, and we've been backing them. Playoffs are also a big expense. We pay escrow dues, and then we have some operating expenses. They're actually pretty minimal compared to the other money we're putting out there. And then the other place that we have budgeted that I don't think enough people in the room are taking advantage of is we do have reimbursement for players that are going to All-Stars, as well as for coaches that are going to clinics. So if you're going to a coaching clinic, we have, as a board, put money aside to make sure that we can reimburse those coaching clinic fees by half. So we really want you to take advantage of those things. So just to put it out there and make sure that you're getting that money back, because we need more coaches in the union, and everyone knows that. And then we have been helping to support some of this medical research that you guys will get some great presentations on. So that's the overall, and anyone also is welcome to email me if you want specifics. I can certainly give you specifics. We do track everything, but that's the overall. Any questions before I sit down? All right, thank you. Oh, there is? Oh, here we go.
So with the income that we made in the last year, is there any thought of reducing the dues that players have to pay into NERFU? I mean, the impression from the playing side and the club management side is that NERFU's income has increased significantly with the way that we pay our dues now, each individual player paying our dues. Is that an accurate perception? And then if so, how, you're just going to keep banking it, or are you going to do something about reducing our individual player and dues? Thanks.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent question and definitely sensitive to it. We discussed last year, because I was serving as interim treasurer, the challenge we had in setting the original dues amount, it being our first year of trying to do this and trying to determine how much was actually going to come in and et cetera. I had a lot of conversations with some of you in this room, and some of you, reached out to us afterwards. We left it the same. We wanted to get a 2-year gauge on what our income was going to look like. I think we have that now very sufficiently, given the fact that we have multiple sources of income coming in, and we're turning a profit, essentially, for a nonprofit organization every year. A decision has to be made, whether it's this board or the board that gets elected after this meeting, about what they want to do with that money. There have been talks about building a field, a permanent structure for NERFU. There have been talks about funding additional academies and things like that. Those will all come up. But if we don't have something concrete and something very real that everyone in this room, a majority of you, can get behind, then yeah, dues will come down. Any other questions? Okay. Guys, it's a sensitive topic, so don't, if you don't want to talk about it in front of everybody, I understand, but come to any of us afterwards and we can discuss it. Do you have a question for that, Professor?
Just a comment. When people speak, please identify themselves.
Oh, okay.
That'll be helpful for the minutes.
That was Professor John McKenzie from Babson College. I'm a Babson grad. I'm sorry. And Babson's not here today.
No, he is.
Oh, there is? Oh, okay, good. Next up is the Executive Director of Women's College. That's Mr. Brian Early.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming, especially Linden State. I know you traveled a long way, and we're sure not to disappoint you. I just have a couple of remarks from this past year, as well as the year previous to that. The conference system seems to be working out, but we want to welcome any team. I know they're probably not here, but any team that wants to come back to NERFU is more than welcome to. I think Trinity and Keene State, they've gone to a conference, found it unsatisfactory for competition reasons, and they're coming back to NERFU. Couple of issues. Rugby is a hugely growing sport, particularly in the younger high school and even beneath that. I know that there's a lot of colleges who are educating teachers out there. And whenever you get a teacher, usually in the public school, to go into a school and start to educate. For instance, I brought a rugby golf ball to my gym class, and I just started throwing it around. And all the students were asking me, okay, what is this? And I explained it to them that there's no forward passing in rugby. And they played with it from there. But rugby is a hugely growing sport, and that's how we're going to grow it. We're going to grow it from the ground up, exponentially. A couple of things. The leadership then will all come from the colleges and the high schools and the schools. The referees, we need more referees desperately. We need more quality referees. It's not an easy thing to get out there and to start judging a game back and forth. You may want to yell at your referee, you may want to kill your referee at some point for making bad calls. But it's important to get that experience and to get that perspective. And there are courses out there through NERS, the New England Rugby Society, that will educate you. And as the website says, it's pretty much a trial by error and a trial by fire experience. But if you can get beyond your first 5 games, then you can gain experience as well as administrative experience into the whole rugby experience. There are a plethora of courses out there offered by USA Rugby, Serevi Rugby, and everybody else. For instance, I'm going down next week to Atlanta to the Sevens tournament, the women's Sevens. I drew at New Zealand. I don't know how that happened, but I'll watch, analyze, and strategize with the Sevens. And it's going to be a good experience, especially because I'll get out of the cold weather. So basically, there's a lot of things you can do as students that would assist rugby, and you can join our board if you would like to at some point. And this is what I want everyone to think about at some point. So I think that I'm done making my comments, but I think that Chris Reed will be our division director, if he's got something to say.
Yeah, any of you that know me know I love the sound of my own voice. So we had a pretty successful season for women's Division III/NSCRO. As most of you know, NERFU is now also formulated with the National Small College Rugby Organization, which handles the national playoff structure for USA Rugby, and for most of our colleges who are not present today, have a chance to move on to the national championships. So the women's season went pretty well. The conference, or the division rather, was split up into 2 conferences this past year. The predominantly larger one is the Northern Conference, and which extends from Farmington, Maine, all the way down to Franklin Pierce area, Rindge, New Hampshire. And we had a very small Southern Conference this year, mostly due to program shutdowns, and it was that Southern Conference was decimated by teams jumping ship a couple of years ago and moving to other governing bodies. Smith and some of those others that moved on to play in whatever their acronyms are. Pretty tight competition in the north. Fair bit of travel for both the men and the women in the Northern Conference. But the women's competition in the central part of the standings was pretty tight this year. Came down to a final game in the regular season, which edged Franklin Pierce over Johnson into the finals. So we don't have a. There's no Final Four for the women's college division. It was decided a couple of years ago for a few reasons based on the actual competition itself and to try and fit into the NSCRO regional playoffs, that there really isn't time with the school semester starting. So the way the season ended up, the top 4 finishers, brand new team out of Biddeford, Maine, University of New England women, very strong program, coached very well by a couple of Portland gals. They went undefeated for the season and ended up in the regional championships at the end of the year. I'll get to that in a second. So UNE, Franklin Pierce, Castleton State, and Colby Sawyer rounded out the top 4 for women's Division III colleges. And then Colby Sawyer hosted the NSCRO regional round, which was consisted of University of New England, Franklin Pierce, the 1 and 2 from NERFU, Wesleyan out of the South, and Smith College from the New England-wide College Rugby Conference. Did I get that right? Yeah? Okay. Saturday was a beautiful day. Great rugby. UNE came out of the gate really strong, as did Smith. The next day turned into a typical central New Hampshire weather, freezing, cold, sunny, windy. But UNE prevailed. Sorry, you did do very well, and you did prevail given all the conditions. Smith ended up topping UNE to move on to the next round of competition, which was held in New Jersey. So, does anybody have any questions? We've got a couple of new teams, as Brian mentioned. Keene's coming back, Trinity's coming back, and Mitchell College is a new women's team that we. So Mitchell and Trinity will round out the South. There's a draft schedule which I forgot to bring, but I will email to you, and since only a few of you are here anyway, it wouldn't have made any sense to print it. There's also going to be, so welcome back, Keene. I know you're in the room. It'll be nice to have you back. The men had a really strong season in the men's season, so it'll be nice to have Keene back and add another team to the north. So it'll be a tight season again this fall. As of right now, we'll start, tentative schedule is you'll start play the weekend of September 20th. You'll run straight through league play through the first weekend in November, with the NSCRO regional playoffs will be November 8 and 9, and that location is yet to be determined. So those of you that are in that competition, hopefully we'll see you at the end of the season next year. Thanks. Sure. I'm so lucky. Hi, I'm Corey Lawson. I'm not. I'm much better looking than Corey. Come on, you guys know Corey. So Corey couldn't be here today. He's got some commitments at Cardigan Mountain School with family on school. He's a teacher there. Corey did a great job with Rick running the men's division this year again. Both roles are up for re-election. Men's Division III college / NSCRO, same model as the women. 4 conferences, much bigger, lot more teams. 4 conferences that make up NERFU D3. There's a subdivision, if you will, which is for new teams and or teams that are rebuilding. Some of you might remember a Division 4 that used to exist. We don't really call this Division 4, or we haven't. The whole idea was to move all of the teams into the Division 3 structure so everybody has a shot to get to the Nationals. And I think, from my point of view, not being a team in the subdivision, I think it's a good idea. And then the decision was made last year at the AGM or sometime thereafter that the top team from the subdivision, I feel like Austin Powers, from the subdivision would have a chance to move into the regular Division III NSCRO competition. So Franklin Pierce, congratulations, guys. I think a couple of you or one of you is in the room. They finished tops undefeated for the men this year in that reworking conference, if you will. So congrats. They'll have a decision to make on whether they're going to move back into the Division III structure for the 2014. The men's Division III is a strong conference. There's some really strong teams with Keene in there, Plymouth State this year, playing some really hard rugby against NEC. Is anyone from NEC arrived? Okay. So those of you that were part of the conference, very good rugby. Those of you that, if you get a chance to get out and watch some of these college guys play, those clubs in the room, man, if you get a chance to send a recruiter over to some of their matches, you really should, and get some of these guys on board after they graduate with your teams. So we ended up with the conference champions were New England College, Babson, Bowdoin, and Eastern Connecticut. The Final Four was hosted by NEC, and that resulted in New England College and Bowdoin facing off in the final, with New England College prevailing. And so they'll move on again. They both went into the NSCRO regional competition, which was also hosted by NEC. And NEC prevailed in that competition. So they'll move on again this year for the second time to the Nationals this spring. They lost to Duke in their first match last year, and I'm not sure what their matchup is right now this year. But so good, strong rugby out of New England College. It's very strange. They have a lot of international players at NEC. I can't figure it out, but if you all can figure out how to get them there at your school, do it, because it's certainly working. Does anybody have any questions? That's all the notes I had from Corey. Yes.
My name's Ken from Amherst.
Hi, Ken from Amherst.
Last year, we had a problem, which I tried to send multiple emails and phone calls on board, that both Babson and Amherst were undefeated, but yet we failed to deal to play Babson. This wasn't in the schedule. So we were trying to figure out what we could do. This doesn't happen again next fall. We're trying to figure out also why Babson was put ahead of Amherst to be able to represent our conference. So if you guys could please let us know how that happened. Again, multiple phone calls. I spoke to Mr. Foley, said he was going to look into it. Also, multiple emails to Lawson and no responses at all.
Okay, I'll let Neil jump in. I'm sorry I didn't memorize the standings as they were before I came down, so I really can't answer that. Yeah.
So, yeah, Ken, I do remember the phone call, of course. Corey told me, and we went through it. I had several phone calls. Carl, I believe you were on at least one of them with Corey, where I had to make him prove that the logic he was using was following the NESCRO tiebreaker procedure, which is what Corey says he did. We could go down a wormhole here, but that might be better served in a breakout session. Corey, he's not here to defend himself, but myself and other members of the board made Corey prove that he was following the NESCRO tiebreaker rule. We determined that he was, and that NESCRO tiebreaker rule allowed Babson to move ahead. I didn't like the result at all, and the schedule was not. The schedule, I think, was the bigger issue. So this coming year, we have to have a better schedule where every team in the conference, in the sub-conferences, plays each other. Would be my proposal. Would be my proposal.
About the tiebreaker rule, what had happened in that season has nothing to do with what's in the tiebreaker. I just want you to know that. And I'll be happy to discuss that with you later.
Okay.
Which I like to, but I just want to get this out so everybody can hear that we had this happen, which I think was totally unfair.
It's fair. Thank you for sharing it with everybody. Corey is not running again for his position, so there will be someone else in that position at the end of this meeting. Does anyone else have a question? Okay. I'm Mike Martin. I grew all my hair back, and I grew a couple of inches, and I'm not annoying, and I'm not afraid to speak in front of the camera, in front of microphones anymore. Mike is not here. He's in New Orleans for work. Mike's had a terrible year between the FIFA Cup and Olympics and other stuff that he gets involved in the NBA as usual. So he apologizes for not being here. So I'm going to give some brief remarks on clubs. I'll save most of my remarks for the clubs for afterwards for our breakout session. But due to USA Rugby's realignment last year, we were forced to redesign our conferences on the men's and women's side. Our D1 shrunk from 8 teams down to 4, and they had to play a schedule against 4 other teams in the Empire Union. They're still playing this year, so it's going pretty well. I think the travel is, that'll be a topic of conversation, but they're still playing their season, and I believe Boston is still in the running for making the playoffs out of there. On the D2 side, Brad, how many teams? 14 teams in D2. They also are still playing. We took 4 teams from D1 and put them into D2, so very competitive division there. They're still playing. Their season doesn't wrap up until the early spring. D3 will hand out awards about, Brad, Jeff, how many teams in D3? 8? 8 teams in D3. And then in D4, we were at 8. And we have new clubs petitioning to join us all the time. On the women's side, I don't know, D1? Boston? Yeah. Okay. 3 teams in women's D1. On the D2 side, they had to form a joint conference with Empire. They got to play Brooklyn. Yeah, where's Portland? Portland women, yeah. Yeah, that was good. Well, I'll talk about Brooklyn later. But let's just say Brooklyn likes a lot of holidays. Every holiday they can get their hands on. Happy Al Malaguena. And on the D3 side, Kira, who ended up being the champion on the D3 side? Amiskeg was D3 women's champion. Like I said, I do want to have more topics of conversation with everyone in the breakout session, but that's kind of a summary of what happened on that. I did something last year, and I meant to do it at the beginning of this meeting, so I'm going to do it now. Who here has driven more than 4 hours to be here today? Can you stand up? Thank you. Thank you guys very much. Worcester's a great city. You're going to love it. I live here. NERFU marketing specialist. This year we hired our first full-time administrator. Anybody that's been on the board before or has been to these AGMs before knows that this was a pipe dream for a lot of years. We wanted to get someone that we would pay to do some of the work that needs to get done for this union. And this year it finally happened. Lori Staples, a former board member, went through an interview process and was hired. She's the person responsible for the management of our website in addition to thousands of other projects. Lori's in the back there actually running a camera right now. She's supposed to come up here and give a speech, so if she wants to, someone wants to take over those headphones for Lori, everyone. Slow clap?
Hi, me. Okay. So a bunch of you know me from, I was on the board for a while, as Neil said. Just a couple things I want to get across. I'm here to help promote you guys. So if you have content that you want to share with the rest of the union, get it to me. Okay, I have a email address set up just for the marketing stuff for NERFU, and I have these little cards. I'll pass them out around the room. Now I'm out of breath from running up here. Okay. It's off season. I'm out of shape. All right. The other thing, there's a couple resources on the website. One thing you can do to help us out and other clubs out is make sure your contacts are up to date. So if you go to the top tab on the website, there's the contacts, and if they aren't, there's a link on that drop-down menu where you can enter in new information. And I try to update that on a weekly basis. There was a problem. I apologize to a couple of the college clubs who put in some new information around the end of January. I didn't get notified for my spreadsheet, so that fell apart. But you guys are updated now. We have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter account, along with our website, and we also have, we just switched email providers, so there's a new list that's going out, and it's coming from that new NERFU marketing email address. So for people who weren't, I can spy on you guys. I can actually see who isn't opening their emails. So I sent an email to everybody from my own personal account to everybody who hadn't opened an email saying, hey, look for these things coming across your inbox. If you still have no idea what I'm talking about, come see me afterwards, and I'll try and help you figure out why you're not getting emails from the union. I try not to spam you guys with a lot of useless information. Most of it has things to do that directly will affect you guys as clubs throughout the year. So that's about it. Does anybody have any burning questions about the website or anything else? Fantastic. Yeah. Please give me more contact. If you have team pictures, send them to me because I can get them up on the website. If your club is doing some sort of community event, get me the information. I'll put it up on Facebook. I'll put it up on our website. I'm always looking for content to help you guys look as awesome as you are. All right, I'll pass these cards out while stuff is going on. Thank you.
Really, you don't like the website? Does anyone like the website? I like the Facebook. You like the Facebook? I think we're getting good numbers out of that. Do you like it compared to the old website? Okay. We had a call last week with the developers of that website. They've got a new SMS texting service, which they've deployed in Ireland successfully, and they're going to start doing it in the United States. So you can sign up for text messages for results for your conference or any conference, as well as standings and tables and things like that. It'll be delivered right to your phone. In addition, teams will be able to submit scores via text. So I think it's pretty good. We'll keep on working on it, obviously. So next year, hopefully you guys are screaming about the website. Next up is the concussion study. Oh, sorry, Mark. Oh, sorry, referee side. The Referee Society would like to say a few words, represented by Mr. Mark Colebrook.
I'm easily overlooked. Good morning. I'm Mark Colebrook. I represent the New England Rugby Referee Society. I get appointed from that body to sit on this board. I primarily listen to the Referee Society, certain person complain about NERFU, and I hear NERFU complain about that certain person, so that's my function here. I'm going to, a little bit about my background, law changes, opportunities for referees, requirements that are placed upon you as members of NERFU, and then level 1 class tentative schedule. So my background, this is my 35th year in New England Rugby. I played for about 22 years with Worcester and Hartford, and as I got older and older and older, I decided to give back to the game and started refereeing about 13 or 14 years ago, and I would encourage anyone to do that younger than I did. Law changes, there is really no law changes for the spring other than they're going to do away with the yes 9 scrum, the warning to the heads up to the defensive scrum that here comes the ball. It's going to be done away with. It'll be a nonverbal communication. It could be a tap on the elbow, or if the referee's on the other side of the scrum, might be a nod or something. Still haven't worked out how we do the young high school kids. We don't want to pat anyone on the backside inadvertently and end up in jail. But we'll, I'm sure the guys from New Haven would enjoy that, but not necessarily the high school kids.
Really had to boil that blood back up.
Hey, every chance I get. I want to thank everyone. There's been, I don't know of any instances in the last year or so of, I'm sure there is out there, but of ref abuse, nothing that I'm aware of being reported to NERFU. So I'd like to thank everybody for kind of taking the code of conduct to heart and leaving us alone on the pitch. It's hard enough managing 30 players and trying to get a game going and then have to deal with some added help that's not always positive or appreciated. Ref opportunities. I'd encourage young players. There's nothing greater than playing rugby, right? There's nothing greater. But There's also a great need for, as Brian pointed out, for referees. Our high school teams are expanding numbers. They play at odd, 3:30 on Thursday afternoon. We need players, we need certified referees to get out there and start covering more and more matches. And it's a good thing. There's, if any of you know Amelia Luciano from down, she's a student at Yale, PhD program. I think she's 25-ish. She just spent from May through October down in New Zealand, fully paid by USA Rugby. There's a Don Morrison scholarship. Don was a longtime referee and national, international level assessor. That the scholarship's been instituted in conjunction with the New Zealand Referee Society. Promising young referees get nominated and are able to go down to the Southern Hemisphere and get fully indoctrinated into their culture in the referee. We had our meeting last week. It's unbelievable the level and the intensity of the training they go through, written reports, goal statements, meetings every week. It was just a great thing for her to go through and bring that knowledge back. She'll do great from now on, from here on out. Financially, we don't get paid for doing games. We get reimbursed for costs, and you've heard this before. We just got a big raise up to $75 a game that you guys, thankfully, thank you for paying us. But over the course of a season, you do enough games, it's not a bad little check to get at the end of the season. If you're a college student, if you do spring and fall, a number of games, you could average a couple $100s a month over the course of the year reffing rugby. Not bad pocket change. So now requirements. You, as members of the NERFU, in the handbook, section 4, paragraph 4, club requirements for provide referees. We instituted this a number of years ago. We thought it was fair and to bring to light the need that we don't get rugby referees off the street corner, right? We get them from this body here and club members. So all clubs in the following divisions will be required to provide active referees to New England Rugby Referee Society in the following quantities: men's D1, 2, 3, women's D1. Women's D1 are required to provide 2 referees to the society, active referees. An active referee is defined as someone who does a total of 8 games over the course of a year. Not a big deal, right? We should be able to do that. Women's D2, one referee. And to be, that's just, no one's ever, I've actually gone back and looked and tried to see who's being covered and what clubs have supported them, and if we need to send a note, we try to push. And I think the senior clubs are doing a pretty good job. We'll follow up and take a look at it. It's just something we would like your support on. Level 1 classes. Right now, these are tentative. That classes for the spring, March 2nd at Babson. Maybe that's news to Babson, I don't know. March 9th, somewhere down in Connecticut. April 6th at Brown. And then I got a note here at Dartmouth once they can get on the fields. We like to be able to get outside, so that'll be scheduled later. I would monitor the website to see when exactly that those are going to happen. So that's all I have. Is there any questions? Yes.
Bring that to the very next board meeting. Send out a note.
That's it. Thank you.
So the people in this room are already doing a lot for their clubs. So Think about those people that aren't doing a lot for your clubs and make them a ref, please. We have clubs in here that have had matches without refs this year, so it is a real need, everybody. And you know, as a ref myself, some days they have us traveling, 2 hours between matches, and you're effing a match at 10 in the morning, you're effing another one at 2 in the afternoon. So if we could ease the burden on the referees, let's try to do that. That's all I want to say.